computer there. There she is. I showed you that. Okay. So she's talking about what, in this sense, is referred to as linguistic relativism, relativity, right? So that different languages perceive the world in a different sense, right? So that adds to the dilemma, for us to try to turn around and say, what is the nature of reality in itself apart from the way we perceive it? And the short answer today is that there's no such thing. Language has empowered us in order to perceive things that without the structure of that language would be unobservable. We would have no description of the things out there. The minute you say, well, what's the thing like outside of human language? You're like, how would you even answer that question, right? That puts into question the whole idea of existence, apart from having a language through which we can conceive of it. Obviously, the thing has to be out there. But without our conceptual schema, in order to describe it, it doesn't get observed by us, right? One of the things we think about when we talk about animals that don't have languages, and by the way, progressively more and more animals are conceived of as having at least some sort of language. Even single-celled animals have some way of making a decision, right? Now, how do they conceive of yummy, not yummy? What's going on there when we think about a paramecium and its decision to go this way because there's food over here and there isn't over there? They must have some way of conceiving of it, even though they don't even have neurons. They don't have language, well, at least as far as we can tell, right? And yet they make decisions and so on. Okay, so thank you, Locke. We end up now with the problem of empiricism. And the basic problem of empiricism is that while we can all share what we think of as the secondary qualities that he called them, secondary because, well, that's how our senses interact with the things. The primary qualities we can't actually see. Although he thought that they were there, and in a sense he thought that they were measurable. What we discover almost immediately, as other philosophers point out, that this is a contradiction. If we can't see them, we can't see them. And as a result, the primary qualities are put into question totally at that point. So, that's the problem of materialism, the problem of empiricism, that are going to be a metaphysical issue for us still today. We still have this issue today. It will change its vocabulary as we go. It will be refined and so on. But we still have this as a basic problem for us. I had some other things that I could. I don't think it was here. Optimism. No. I haven't been using ChatGPT as much as I had been. Okay. So, going over John Locke, and the other thing that we have to double check on is his social contract theory. You can see 1632 to 1704, so of course he's going to be dead long before 1776, our so-called revolution against the British. But he contradicts Hobbes. Hobbes argues that in the state of nature, everything is dog eat dog, right? Everybody is in a war against everyone else. This is a hypothetical. Hobbes doesn't say that this ever actually existed, but just being theoretical. Why do we have government at all? It's in order to solve this problem of security. Everyone's fighting against everyone else. So how do we organize ourselves? And for Hobbes, the state of nature was absolutely horrific. Locke comes in with an argument that really makes a whole lot more sense and says that no, we were always social. Human beings have mothers and fathers and families love one another, at least theoretically, and they're trying to take care of the children and raise them and so on. And then kind of like J.D. Vance argued recently, it's only natural for us to love those closest to us first and then expand our care bit by bit as we can afford it, basically, so that we can care for the whole world, only if we've got plenty of stuff that we can share with others, right? It was interesting to me that the church came in and condemned this so-called Christian point of view that J.D. Vance offered, with the idea that that's not at all what Jesus was teaching. He says you love your neighbor as yourself, so you're supposed to love everybody equally, says the church. And that's said by someone who clearly loves certain individuals more than he loves others. In other words, I think Vance is actually much closer to the truth. That's common sense, isn't it? And the church, what's the church trying to do? The church is trying to say, no, that doesn't help. We need everyone to love everyone. It doesn't really work, but clearly what the church is trying to do is make it possible, at least, for people to care about others, even those that seem like we ought to bomb them, for just what they're thinking, which, of course, a lot of people believe we ought to do, right? So, Locke argues that the original state of nature was happy, an Eden almost, right? And characterized by reason and tolerance. And tolerance, it's the word I kept searching for when I was talking about the influence that Spinoza had on Locke, is the idea that because we're all going to start being scientists now and using this modern method bequeathed to us by Descartes, we're going to solve all the questions using scientific method, and before long everyone will be scientists. We won't have religions anymore, thought Spinoza. Instead we'll all be scientists, and we'll know everything, and we'll be able to handle all our problems, and we will no longer have wars between different ethnic or religious groups. So instead, getting ready for that day, we should start being tolerant. We should have tolerance for others, because we know that they're just doing the best that they can with the experiences that their society has had. And once we send, teachers to go and explain to them where they've been wrong all these years, and teach them how to think scientifically, they'll join us. We'll all be one big happy family, and we'll have an encyclopedia, which is a relatively new thing. The encyclopedists, they're literally, okay, here's our updated version of knowledge. We used to think Aristotle knew everything, and thanks to the logic skills developed in the Middle Ages, we realized when Aristotle's philosophy started coming back into Europe, we realized where he was wrong about a lot of things, and as a result, they had the scientific Reformation. But once you start the scientific Reformation and everybody's trying to figure out what's true using science to figure it out, then we can now create a new encyclopedia that basically tells you everything about the world, so that you don't have to be in ignorance anymore. Just read the book and find out how birds fly, how wings work, how the corpuscles go, etc. Right? And human beings want to have life, health, liberty, and possessions. Okay, now remember, this is all going to influence Thomas Jefferson. So if you visit Monticello, which I've had the pleasure of visiting physically, I mean, it wasn't, Google Earth. I was actually there. I drove the van with the students in it to get there. So I saw those pictures on the wall and marveled at all the different marvels that Thomas Jefferson kept building on Monticello, which basically kept him bankrupt. I understand, right? He loved learning new things. But those three paintings, this is Francis Bacon, this is Sir Isaac Newton, and this is John Locke. Boy, you can really see him there in the picture, the way that photo is. I don't know if I can make that better. Will that happen? What happened to it? That's crazy. There it is. All right, a little bit better. So, I haven't mentioned Francis Bacon. Let me do that real quick, because he's an important philosopher. I had a scare. We went to my granddaughter's birthday party on Sunday. No, this was last week. So I went to her birthday party on Sunday a week ago. Wednesday, I think it was, my son told me that his wife came down with COVID. She had just hugged me on Sunday evening, as we were leaving, and she added her voice to the cut it all off. I've got lots of women all telling me to cut off my beard and my hair. I don't know, that's kind of weird, But in any case, so she hugs me Sunday evening. By Tuesday, she's sick as a dog. She tests, and she's got COVID. By Thursday, she was feeling a lot better. But I, my wife, and my daughter were there, and so we're anxious, of course, with all the face-to-face and eating food together, etc. They served us a chicken pot pie from Costco. It was really great. I liked it. In any case, everybody seems fine. So, knock on wood. We've been taking COVID tests and negative. We're all negative. So that's why I'm here, because otherwise I would have been morally obligated to tell you class was canceled and do it via Zoom or something, just in case. I think we're still following those rules, right? So Francis Bacon, not to be confused with Roger Bacon. None of you were confused about that, but if you ever look up bacon by itself, and you're not talking about the little strips of pork, which are very tasty. Roger Bacon was a medieval theologian, and very interesting as well, and in fact interested in inductive reasoning. But the one who gives us inductive reasoning as a beginning here is Francis Bacon. And he also warns us about the idols of the tribe, the idols of the marketplace, the idols of the cave, and the idols of the theater. And what are those? The idols. Let's see, I can do this, right? What? I don't want to go incognito. What on earth are they talking about? I obviously hit the wrong button here. There it goes. So, idols of the mind. And what are they? So you end up with various types of idols. Let's just go to the next one. So the novum organum just means the new tool. Remember the organon of Aristotle were all the different things that were compiled to put together what we call logic. Right? Well, Aristotle's logic was deductive. There's definitely inductive logic mentioned, but he doesn't think it's important enough to deal with it, because if you know everything, you just need deductive logic in order to figure out specific things. Right? The trouble is, if you don't know everything, inductive reasoning is how you find out something new. Right? It's invalid, by the way. I think I mentioned. You say, "Oh, the swans are white. Oh, there's more swans, and they're white, and they're white, and they're white." And you think, "Well, all swans are white." You just made a mistake because they're a black swan. So inductive reasoning, by the way it's organized, is always a guess. And as a result, it's not valid, because only deductive reasoning organizes itself so that if your premises are correct and it's valid, your conclusion is also true, and so you know things based on previous knowledge. Inductive reasoning is how you find out something new, and we need a method in order to do that. And so basically what Francis Bacon argued was that we need to at least be aware